Hello everyone, I am Smita Sharma. I'm happy to be back here at the Geetam University Hyderabad campus for yet another another session of Changemakers, where we try and have meaningful conversations with people who've actually empowered others, who have brought about change in their area of work, and to talk about their personal journeys, struggles, and the inspiring stories as well. And I have a very special guest here today with me. She entered the Indian Police Force in 1990. She's had more than 3 decades of experience when it comes to policing, training, conflict management, peace building. She's currently the Inspector General CISF for the South Sector. She also headed the National Industrial Security Academy in Hyderabad till recently. In 2010, she was awarded the British Foreign and Commonwealth Chevening Scholarship, and in peace building and international conflict building at Bradford University. She was also a visiting fellow at the Center for Advanced Study of India in the University of Pennsylvania. She wears, in fact, too many hats. She has a wide range of expertise and also a particular leaning for academics. We are so glad to have you here, Ms. Anjana Sinha, with us at Geetam University.
Good morning, children, boys and girls, and the faculty I can see, and the administration of Geetam University, Hyderabad. It's indeed very, very heartening to be back amidst students and learners. So I'm actually looking forward to this conversation.
And Hyderabad is home for Anjana ji. Even now, while of course she is hopping states frequently in the southern sector, doing security audits, various responsibilities. At heart, you're a Hyderabadi?
Yes, I am. I'm like when people ask me where are you from. Today I had a chaperone with me, Parinita, and what a lovely company. And she asked me the first question. She asked me that where are you from? So I said I'm from Andhra Pradesh because I can't say I'm from Hyderabad. So she said, oh, you are? I said, yes, I am. And then I went on to explain that I've spent more than 3 decades in this state, now what you call Telangana. But for me, intuitively, it comes back as Andhra Pradesh. So I'm more a Telugu than where I was born and schooled. So I like to call myself a Hyderabadi and from Telangana now.
Wow, that's good to hear. Uh, of course, you have had so many important milestones in your career and your journey. I'm not going to spell them all out at once. We will discuss them as we move forward. But let's start from, go back a little bit and start from your younger days as a student. Before I come to your college days, as a young student, what are the kind of formative memories that you have which started shaping you into the human being that you eventually became, into your ideas and ideologies? What are the earliest memories of something that happened in childhood that changed you as a person?
What changed me? Uh, I think as a child, I was just, I was all over the place. I used to be quite a nightmare for my class teachers, I remember, because I used to do everything except study. So I was always, missing in action when it came to good results and all that. And we used to have what is called the parent teachers meeting. And our parents, my mom used to come because my dad used to be at work. And I remember my teachers constantly telling my mom that, ye padti nahi hai, she doesn't study, she's capable of doing good, but, she doesn't put in her mind. And so I was not the very goody studious, but I was, as I said, all over. I was very active in theater. I was very active in elocution. Later on, in my 10th onwards and plus two, I was very active in debating. So I was doing all of that. And what changed me, I think in college, I started looking at that, I should be I should be financially independent. I should have a career. Uh, yeah, so that's that.
Students who've just come in, please, keep your chatter to the minimum. All of you, don't become the nightmares that ma'am is talking about right now. How many of you actually identify yourselves as a nightmare of a student for your teachers? We have an honest student here. Come on, be honest enough. Not all of you are the goody students. Okay, a couple of confessions coming up. Good to see that. So, ma'am, when you came to college, you is there a hiss in the mic? You went to Lady Shriram College in Delhi, and you also went to Jawaharlal Nehru University. Uh, by that time, did you already have an idea that you wanted to appear for the UPSC, that you wanted to become a part of the police force? What are some of your fond memories of college that you would like to share with us today?
So your last question first. No, I never wanted to be part of the police force, and I never had any aspiration or wish to be, becoming a civil servant, as they call it. No. So I do not have those very politically correct answers for you, and I'm going to be very candid about it. So when I joined college, yeah, I luckily did very well for my +2, because by then, there was that much that, if you're able to do it, you might as well. So I did well, and I got into the college I went to. And my college was, at that point in time, there was a lot of, and I was staying in the hostel, so there was a lot of students who were just geared towards, wanting to be there. So not particularly being part of the government or part of writing the civil services, but they were just very driven, very focused that, they have to be somebody, to have an identity of their own. It was a very, very amorphous way of, aspiring, but not like, I have to be a doctor or I have to be an engineer. But as a young girl, there was this very sort of, there was a pervasive atmosphere in our college that we just have to do something. So I think that kind of, worked for me too. So, and academically, I was doing fine. By then, I also sort of got into that thing of that, I must study a bit. And academics was something which started to interest me. So in my second year of college, when I did pretty well, and at Delhi University, you're also, you may be just part of one college, but in terms of your marks and when you get your annual results, you also pecked, like, you are third in the university, or you're second in the university, or you're down there. So one was doing fine. So I thought, okay, maybe I should look at academics, because I'll probably be able to do fine. And keeping that in mind, I came to JNU. Again, there was an entrance exam, and got through. So honestly speaking, when I entered JNU, I entered JNU with the dream of becoming an academic. So being a teacher, like some of you here. That is what I wanted to be. But yes, 4 decades down the line, 40 years down the line, I can say that there's something called destiny. And here I am. So I actually took the exam because my parents wanted me to, try civil services.
And you were a first cop in the whole family.
Yes. As of now, the first. So, yes, and I just took the exam once. And as, as destiny has it, because I definitely know people take the exams over and over again, and they are like geared towards it 1 year in advance, 2 years in advance before they take the first attempt. But those days, things weren't so difficult either. So I took the exam, and yes, here I am.
Wow, that's superb. I mean, not too many people tend to crack the civil services in the first attempt itself. But you mentioned that while you were in school, you were also inclined towards a lot of extracurriculars, towards theaters as well. Is that something that you were able to pursue for a few years?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I did a bit of theater in college. I did a bit of street theater in the university. But after I joined service, no, I couldn't. I would love to go back. I would love to go back to theater and dancing. That's something which is, which is at my core. I really enjoy it. But I haven't had the opportunity.
The Geetam, can I please request the students who are just coming in? I know you've just had your classes finished. Can you please, quickly settle down? Thank you. We have a lot of students here, of course, who are into dramas, who are into, singing, music, and creative arts. For students, who come in from a lot of serious disciplines, there are many here who are pursuing science, who are pursuing technology. How important is it to try and balance out academics with curriculars in your, formative years, in your college years as well?
You mean the extracurricular activities? Yeah. I don't know. I think you should ask the students. But in my opinion, it's good to have, it's good to have an interest other than your, your mainstream parhai, your academics. It keeps you you have another sort of skill, and for me it's been very therapeutic. I mean, I enjoy theater. I just enjoy watching theater now, since I don't, I'm not part of doing it, but I look forward to doing it. And I really enjoy dancing. I really enjoy reading. So these are some of the what they call hobbies. Is it keeps me happy. It sort of smoothens and irons out my stresses at work or otherwise. So it's always good to have something doing which you enjoy. Like a lot of people enjoy playing an instrument. It's very very sort of de-stressing. So yeah, that's what I feel.
Also she has had a lot of serious, challenging, high pressure responsibilities that I will come and talk about in just a brief moment from now. But when you talk about, ma'am, these curriculars, just a last question on this one. Are these also your, the typical stress coping mechanisms? How do you find your own area of comfort which can quieten you down for these students who are constantly appearing for exams, who are constantly having, their challenges in life is just about to begin? How do you find, how, go about coping with stress?
So my way of daily cope is I enjoy my
If
solitary
you could
walks.
just hold the mic a little bit.
I enjoy my solitary walk. It works for me. After work, I always take time out for myself. Even when I have family staying with me, I prefer to be on my own, because it gives me time, one, to walk, which is something which keeps me physically agile. At the same time, I think very sort of intuitively and subconsciously, that's the time where I sort of revisit what's happening with me, what's happening with my life, what's happened during the day. So for me, my go-to de-stressor is my walks. And of course, I enjoy a bit of yoga. I do it as often as I find the time and the moment. And of course, as I said, dancing and cooking, I enjoy that.
Oh,
too.
you dance too?
Yes, I
Lovely.
do.
Are you a trained?
No, I'm not a trained dancer.
How many of you take your exercising time seriously? Some form of a physical activity and exercise. I don't see too many students here. I think there are lesser numbers. Okay. I think it's important that you continue to do so, continue to focus that, because your physical health really impacts your mental health too. I have to ask the students up there to really please, can you just be quiet? We have a fantastic guest here. Let's listen and be inspired by what she's saying and ask some great questions. I'll throw open the floor for questions in the next 10-15 minutes. Ma'am, coming to your role in the police forces. Now, I know you've had a lot of challenging assignments. You've also been a part of, advising, mechanism for formulation in the international system. You've seen the European conflicts in Bosnia, in Herzegovina. How was that? Give us a sense of how does one prepare for these kind of assignments, and what were some of the more bigger challenges that you faced at that point in time?
So Bosnia came in very early on in my career.
I'll just have to.
The UN assignment came in very early on in my career, and honestly, I took up that assignment because I wanted to experience a UN assignment. But yes, the learnings were immense and innumerable. One got to interact with various nationalities and police across the world. So that was a great learning as to how policemen and women across the world from different countries uh, view policing, what they think of themselves as police personnel, how they approach their work, what is law enforcement for them, what is enforcement for them. These have very, very diverse definitions, across globe. How we perceive enforcement and how, let's say, the Europeans or let's say the Americans uh, perceive enforcement is so different. And I would say there's a lot of difference between the European way of perceiving enforcement and the stereotypical American way of seeing enforcement. And we the Asians. So yeah, it was a great learning, and to be able to work with different nationalities across gender, across race, across different working cultures. I think when I came back after a year, I was so much more mature in terms of how I started looking at my own work and started looking at law enforcement as such. It was a wonderful experience and a lifetime experience.
You mentioned gender. Now, I know I don't want to look at your assignments only through the gender lens, but it is important that we talk about it. I have a lot of young women here in the audience today, who are, and women have been doing so well in so many fields. When you started off your career, uh, was there a pressure of sorts when you wore that uniform that you had to act a certain way to be acceptable to your male counterparts? Was there some sort of a constraint on you? Was there some sort of a self limitation that you were imposing upon yourself as a woman in uniform about, how do you behave in the forces where obviously there is still a huge gender divide? The numbers are not evenly balanced, and I'm sure in the 90s it would have been even more, worse off than it is currently. Some of your challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them as a woman in uniform?
So your first part of the question, was there any pressure on me from my colleagues or from my fraternity to be a certain way? Not really, not really. And as I was saying before we sort of met up here, that when we joined the forces, we were just at that, watershed of the police forces history in our country, where women, it's not that we were like, one or two women. There were, a sizable number of women who had come in, and, we were at that point where lots and lots of women were, just about to enter. So it's not that we were like, like let's say the Kiran Bedis or like the, Mrs. Diols. We were not like that. We were there, but yes, in the states and in the, when we went to the districts and we went to the field, we were still a little bit, we were a spectacle, like, not, there were not too many women cops as SDPOs or, moving around when there is a crime scene happening, or if there's a law and order breakout, a riot, then you are there at the helm of affairs trying to control it. So that was, I think, but people accepted it with a lot of awe, and but a lot of positive awe, I would say. So I don't think there were any sort of negative pressures, or at least I did not experience that, honestly.
When I said negative pressures, in the sense, sometimes maybe as a young recruit, as a young trainee officer, uh, is there a pressure on young women police officers in your times when they were coming in that you had to be a certain degree of macho to meet up with the muscle power on display from the other men? That you had to be more macho than the others so that you could be taken seriously. Those kind of pressures that somebody may even self impose on themselves.
Uh, honestly, in the field, I've never faced any pressure. I thought people, in fact, my experience is that people thought that I was more macho than most of the men. So there was a lot of issues that, oh my God, she's like quite a, better to sort of stay away from her. But during the training, I remember initially when I joined, we were very young. So my trainers, in fact, they were senior officers at the academy, had their doubt whether this girl will be able to, take the rigors of the training, because our training is pretty physically demanding, and but it's not impossible. So somebody like me who was very non-athletic, I was not into sports or anything, but we had such good trainers that we were able to do the training fairly well. So it was not a problem. But yes, just because you look a certain way, you're not very, physically gifted in terms of your size or the way you ought to be, because you're going to be, wearing a uniform. Maybe people had some sort of doubts, but in the field, no, never. I never had any problems either from my seniors or from the people that, there was a pressure to be looking some way or, performing in such a,
Which also brings me to the question, ma'am, when it comes to gender sensitization within the forces, often we have seen, and this is for a lot of stories that have been reported from northern Indian states to from other states too, where even women officials have not been sensitive, say for instance, to rape survivors or to survivors of sexual abuse, molestation. Why does that happen? How do you change that? How is the gender sensitization progressing as far as our forces are concerned?
that's a $1 million one. So yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot to cover by way of our journey towards gender sensitization, uh, both for women and for men. But I think that is a sociological issue, Smita, honestly speaking, because misogyny or being insensitive to women is something which I'm sure people experience across board. And as much as we say men are insensitive, I think women are equally insensitive, as you rightly said. And in fact, during my course of work, I found some of my male colleagues extremely sensitive. I've really found some of my male colleagues in the forces very sensitive to crime against women and, physical and sexual exploitation of women and women victims. Having said that, yes, there is a lot which needs to be done by way of, taking the what is called the leap forward towards accomplishing a very gender sensitive police force. And this is not just for us or from the state where I come from, but I think it's across board, all states. We have to be more sensitive towards not just women, but we have to be sensitive towards any victim of crime. And it includes men, it includes people who are economically weak, people who are emotionally battered. We have to be sensitive. So yes, sensitivity is something which needs to be inculcated, and sort of we have to be trained in becoming more sensitive, because our work itself is it has to have a very very impersonal and a ruthless side to it, because at the end of the day we are expected to get information out, we are expected to detect crimes, we are expected to get many things out of people, out of situations. So that requires a bit of that brutality. But at the same time, we have to be that much more sort of dual in our way of, because while you're being firm and while you're being ruthless in your investigations and all, you also have to be sensitive towards even the so-called alleged accused,
Right.
because yeah, in fact, I think it's a smarter way to get information out of a potential criminal or a alleged accused if you are sensitive to him, rather than just being plain brutal.
Also, of course, that leads to the debates of human rights. But, I'm going to take in questions from the audience. I hope we have two volunteers with the mics in our audience as well. So just raise your hands, whoever has a question, please, for ma'am here. And before I go to them, ma'am, just any one really challenging assignment that comes to your mind that you would like to share with our students that kind of really tested you at different levels?
Uh, I think my second assignment as ASP of a subdivision called Dharmavaram was really what sort of tested my mettle. I think I had, you name it, and I handled every kind of situation. And whether it was faction crime, whether it was left wing extremist crime, whether it was property offenses, dacoities, so you name it. My second stint as SDPO in a district of Anantapur, a subdivision called Dharmavaram, was my quite challenging assignment. Lot
Okay.
of law and order, yeah, you name it.
These were was this during the Babri Masjid riots time as
No,
well?
this was just after. Yeah, my first assignment was in Guntur when the Babri Masjid came down. It was literally a week after I had joined. But I was just too new. I was given the job of protecting one part of Guntur, which was sensitive from the demographic perspective. And but of course, I was just one of the many officers who was handling it. So we had the SP and we had the administration backing it. It was challenging, but I wouldn't really call it the most challenging assignment. My second assignment was,
What is the one skill that a young police officer needs to inculcate, particularly in a when you're trying to control a riot situation like the way you did during the Babri Masjid riots?
uh, two things. You should know the people you're handling, and you should be calm. Never lose your cool. And of course, you have to be fearless, because to be standing, let's say, with two or three people, because you'll have, at best, in a spontaneous situation, you will not have a posse of policemen there. You'll have, at best, your own team which moves with you, your task force, which will have 3 or 4 people. But if you're handling a riotous or a violent mob of, let's say, 50, 100, you have to maintain your calm. And because the calm and the confidence is what kind of stops people from doing it. And this, I have to share my experience, that so many occasions, uh, I know that in the city police, when I was working, and I was looking after just one area of the city police, but many a times uh, the commissioner of police would actually send me to an area which was not under my area of responsibility. If there was a sudden sort of let's say a sparked situation, or a situation which just broke out of nowhere, only because he thought I would be able to handle it more effectively. And I think it was just my confidence, and that I just knew that I will be able to do it, and a little lack of fear that I'll get hurt or beaten, that saw me through. And so that that aura of confidence, and that aura of that, yes, I will be able to control you, it does send that message to the people.
I think finding that confidence within that I will be able to do it is just so critical,
Yeah,
because
because you just have to keep sort of evaluating the mob. See, once they see people in uniform, they in any case take a break. It's psychological. you know you're all seeing me like this, and just for a minute, imagine I go out and I come back in uniform. I'm sure this distraction and this chatter and all will not be there. I'm sure there would be more eyes looking at me. So that's the magic of uniform. So
yeah.
that itself, and honestly, I would say it's not that I was physically very intimidating or anything, but I think the general psychological shock of seeing a woman in uniform at the helm of affairs, that itself is a psychological deterrent, and that works.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay. Let's in fact try and take in some questions now. Can I have a raise of hands? Anybody here? So many girls. Yeah, come on. I'm sure you have questions. Okay, there's somebody here. Can we get the mic here, center stage first? The one in white, and then we'll go to the next.
Hello, ma'am.
Please stand up.
Hello,
Introduce
ma'am.
yourself.
I'm Meghna. So my question for you is like, what all the initiatives you had undertaken in your area of work to make systems better and efficient? Thank you, ma'am.
I think there's a question at the back. Somebody raised a hand. We'll go to you.
Thank you, Meghna. That was such a nice question. So it gives me a very sort of a right point to sort of share my experiences. So when I was SP of a district, and I will keep it very general. I will not mention names and other things. And it was a district which had a bit of a Naxal problem. So there were a lot of these dalams, what used to be called those days, who were very active that time. And going to some parts of the district was quite problematic. Uh, Policemen were hesitant to go there, forget about any other government agency. So at that point in time, getting information of what's going on was key to our functioning, right? So typically, to to go to these areas, people would use men constables, right? But I started using women constables, and let me tell you, that really worked. That really worked, because nobody could at that point in time even imagine that there were women who were gathering intelligence from these far and remote areas, and who were basically my people, but they were there amongst people. So that was a very I thought that was a very smart move, a very bold move.
But were these women constable mingling with the crowds in civilian clothes, in plain clothes?
Yeah, so when you are in the business of information collection, you're not in uniform. But to use women for that, I don't think it was done before me in my state where I come from. That is one. And the second thing is, which I think I kind of initiated it, which has now become uh, the she team and whatnot. I think the seeds of that was sown when I was DIG crime against women. So we started what we called the single window, where you don't have to go to the police station to register a complaint if it is to do with you. It has to do with your workplace or with your personal space, but you could come to this place where you don't have to interact with cops, as in stereotypical cops in uniform, because that can be very flustering and sort of not everybody will be willing to go. So we started this single window thing. It was called the CRCC. At that point in time, it was called the CRCC, Conflict Resolution Center and Counseling Center. CRCC, we called it. It was in a small place in Lakri Ka Pul. And believe you me, I used to go back home sometimes at 10 in the night. Every day. Like, people typically think that if you're handling something like this, you'll have a very easy life. But there were days, because so many women came and started coming and giving their complaints about various aspects, and a lot of thing at for kind of things which were happening at workplace. which was hitherto not getting reported. And I'm talking of way back in 2005-6. So that was something which I thought was an initiative taken by me.
Uh, how many of you have ever had a brush in a police station? You've had to go to a police station. You've had to. Okay, I just want to quickly come to you. Can you share an experience of what were your apprehensions when you went to the police station? Can we pass a mic here to this young girl here? The one in the pink suit. Quickly, guys. If you could just stand up and tell me, which police station was this? And really, what was your apprehension about the station and what was the real experience like when you went in?
Firstly, good afternoon, ma'am. This is Tejasri. So, my uncle bet my grandmother. So we had to rush to police station to give a complaint. So because he was physically abusing my aunt and my grandmother. So
What was your experience at the police station?
we went there. They made us wait for 1 hour to take complaint, and yeah, within that day they have arrested my uncle and solved the problem.
Were you scared of entering the police station?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Why? I mean,
I completely understand that. We are not the most welcoming when it comes to the police station. We have to improve a lot on that front too.
okay. But you're saying that at least your issue was addressed, which is good
Yes,
to know.
ma'am. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your experience.
Thank
I think it's good for people to talk. Let's take the question there. Somebody in the pink shirt, t-shirt. You have to be a little alert.
Hello,
Next,
ma'am.
we'll go to the person behind them.
My name is Arjun. My question is, what are the key elements, according to you, that students need to take care of in their student life? Thank you.
The student life.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I'm the right person to be answering because I was not a very studious student. But yeah, I think first of all, I think you have to be focused as to what you want to do, and you should be able to enjoy. That's it.
Enjoy, enjoy your college years. These are not going to come back. I think that's very important. Enjoy doesn't mean you continue to chat sitting up there during the conversation.
Good afternoon,
Go
ma'am.
ahead.
My name is Vikramaditya Singh. Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Vikramaditya Singh. And my question to you is, like initially, how did you handle your professional life and your personal life? Like over the years, it might have got improved, but like in the initial days, you might have faced some problems in your family, or like how did you balance? That's my question. Simple words.
Thank you for asking me such a cliched question, Vikramaditya.
But I think it's
I'm
something.
sure you wouldn't question if a man was sitting here. Would you? Would you have asked a man cop sitting here this question? You wouldn't. Yeah, so as I said, thank you for asking me that very cliched question. And I'm going to answer it ad nauseum. So, yes, when I joined the services, I was actually married. So I wasn't single. I was already newly married. But I had no problems whatsoever because I have a very supporting husband and I have a very supporting father, very supporting family. So on that front, I had really no problems. And I think a lot of this credit of what I was able to do in my early years was because of the kind of support I received from my parents and my husband.
But I mean, there are women out there who are also struggling on a daily basis.
Yeah, but
For
I
them,
mean, see, everybody has their journey and everybody has their story. Unfortunately, yes, there are a lot of women who face a lot of challenges and problems, especially if they are doing a job which requires them to be out of home for the longest. Like, I have not been home for many nights when my child was only probably a year or two. I used to be away from home because of my work. But I had my mom, I had my husband who was there to take care of my child. So, yes, a lot of people
get
have
on
to
with the
face a lot of
question, right?
problems. I know of cops, women cops who had to quit their jobs. And I'm talking of IPS officers who have had to quit their jobs because they were not able to kind of get that kind of support from their families. But I think I was lucky.
Good afternoon, madam. I'm Professor Ishwar from Mechanical Engineering. Madam, I would like to ask one sensitive question. So, couple of months or 1 year back, there is a Disha case happened. In that case, the action has been taken very rapidly. So, I would like to ask your opinion whether that kind of action, rapid action, is correct. But in a general public, that kind of action might be correct because that incident is very bad incident. So one first part of the question, my question is, what is your opinion on that rapid action? And coming to avoid or to not to repeat such kind of incidents, what kind of qualities or what kind of societal responsibilities men should have, in your opinion?
To see an increasing pressure and call for mob justice these days. Are police officers also under pressure because the court termed the Disha encounter as fake encounter? Are police officers coming increasingly under pressure to play to the gallery?
Uh, so there were two parts to the incidents. There was the rape and there was an encounter, right? You did not like to use the word encounter for your own reasons, but I think I will be bold enough to use that word. So there was a rape, which was a gang rape, and then post that there was an encounter. Both of this were sort of thoroughly unacceptable, right? But having said that, uh, sometimes, you know, we are caught in a bind. As cops, we take certain, callings which are very, very sort of convictional, you know, uh, which I suppose we shouldn't. We should let, because we are part of a criminal justice system. We are not the jury. We are just part of the prosecuting component of the criminal justice system. Our jobs is to bring the criminals to the point where the judiciary takes a call as to what needs to be done. Having said that, some of the crimes are so heinous and they are so shocking that it's a bit of a dilemma as to what happens with them. So with the criminals, I mean, what happens with the victims, of course, you know, the victims are no more there. But the trauma which the immediate family and the rest of the people who have to undergo because of that the brutality or the heinousness of the crime can be very, very shocking. So sometimes cops, and I would say these are bold cops, I would not say that they are wrong or right, these are bold cops who take upon themselves the responsibility of what they do. uh, Technically speaking, any encounter can happen. And if an encounter happens, if there is something which you're facing from an aggressor, in self-defense, you can definitely, the police can definitely respond to it. Now, as Smita says that this has been proven to be a fake encounter, if that is the case, then I suppose going that much further was probably a little hazardous for a cop. But if it was not, then I suppose you have no choice but to sort of neutralize the aggressor.
Doesn't it also break down the very judicial structure where, we do believe that you're innocent until proven guilty? If it's a fake encounter scenario, or if, an
Yes.
encounter happens too early on, you don't even know if it's the right criminal mastermind who is behind bars. For all you know, the criminal mastermind may still be out there, but because there is so much of domestic pressure, including pressure from the media, that you're wanting to go out there and say that, look, I have delivered.
I don't think there will be any domestic pressure, Smita. I don't think there'll be any. What pressure can be there?
People asking for criminals to be hanged to death, to be sentenced,
So what?
celebrating encounters. I mean, at the Disha
Yeah.
case, there was societal celebration of the encounter.
Yeah.
Is that not a point of a kind of a breaking point, indication of a breaking point of society when there has been a serious erosion of trust between how law should be enforced, that you have zero faith in the courts, or that law really will be
Yeah.
upheld?
Yeah, but does that mean that because there is pressure, I will go ahead and do something which I shouldn't be doing? I think I have to ask a question. No, I will not. I will not. Nobody should. But if there is somebody who is aggressing or who is attacking me, then to counter that, probably one has to, in self-defense, what do you do? And there, I know of personally many cases where criminals have been caught and they are actually trying to escape, or they are trying to harm the cops, take their weapons, trying to. It has happened on many occasions. So yes, if it is a orchestrated kind of a thing, no. But if it's something which has happened because a criminal is a criminal, a psychopath is a psychopath, he will do anything to do get away. So what do you do in that situation? Having
think-
said that, now that we are talking of Disha case, I will tell you the kind of shock which Hyderabad was going into. I was in Hyderabad that time, and I was here on work. Listen to this story carefully of what people, what is people's shock and people's perception about the police. This is something which has happened with me. So I was not watching the TV because I was here on work. I finished my work and I was flying back. You won't believe, I entered Hyderabad airport, and because I am with the CISF right now, so I get a little more privilege in terms of being facilitated to the airport. So I had luggage, and just when I entered the airport, I was standing alone because my luggage was taken by one of my staff, and he was checking it, and I was standing all alone. I mean, alone as in an airport, just at the entrance, and the check-in counter is there. You won't believe, two women walked up to me and they said, "You're Anjana Sinha?" I said, "Yes, I am." And they started abusing me. They started abusing me in English. "You have no right to be wearing a uniform. What the hell do you should be beaten up with shoes. People like you should be beaten up with shoes." I was like stumped. What happened? And they were so agitated and they were abusing me that the cops, who I mean my CISF personnel, they saw, so two of them came running. One was at the gate. "What's happening?" And they shoot the women away. You can imagine my state of shock. I have no idea that a rape of this kind has happened. These two women, I can still remember their faces, and pointing their fingers at me, they went away because the people in uniform came. So this is the kind of anger people have when things like this happen, because they perceive that we in uniform do nothing about it. It has happened with me. I immediately picked up the phone that point in time, and I called up my batchmate who was then the Commissioner of Police, Hyderabad. I said, "Hello," whatever his name was, "what happened?" I was suddenly, like, not physically beaten up, but I was verbally attacked like this. So he said, "Okay, maybe because this kind of an incident has happened, though it has not happened in my area of responsibility." This was his answer. So this is how people perceive us in uniform. And this is the kind of, anger, or this is the kind of, expectations, latent expectations people have. So, this incident kind of answers many questions of yours.
I think A, there is an anger which is palpable, which is justifiable after such heinous crimes. B, as you mentioned, sometimes, of course, while you're on the ground, you cannot always stick to the SOPs taught in classrooms because the ground situations could be very, very aggressive or challenging. But C, what is more important is the individual principal positions that you also take, that because people expect me to act a certain way, it does not mean that I will cross boundaries without evidence. I think those individual convictions also need to come in from officers to be able to build back that trust that we've seen eroded over the years in our
Absolutely,
society.
absolutely, I agree.
Let me take in some questions from that side. Yeah, there are 2, 3 students there. Please talk to the mic. Let's take the student there. The last two first, then we'll come. Do we have any questions on this side? Just raise your hand so that, okay, we'll come to you, sir, just after the two students.
Hello, ma'am. This is Shriya. The first part of my question is, which is that one crime that you absolutely hate having to deal with? And the second part would be, what are few underreported cases that happen a lot but are reported very less? Thank you.
Okay. Let me just take a second question now. Kind of running out of time. This one. Quickly. Our volunteers need to be a little more faster. Okay. Let's take the question.
Greetings, ma'am. I'm Kingshuk. The question I would like to ask you is I'm pretty sure you've come across a lot of violent crimes during your time in force. How do you deal with that on a daily basis, and how does it affect you as a person and your mental health? And how do you still go on with your day the next day going to work with witnessing something like that? Do you have to like take a day off sometime?
I like your question. So let me first answer the first question. So if I've understood, the question was that what is the crime which I have handled,
You do not
which
like
I did
dealing with
not
at
like
all.
dealing with, right? And the second part of your question was that what are the kind of crimes which happen but are underreported, right? Okay. So I never enjoyed. I enjoyed interrogation. That was one part of my job I enjoyed a lot. And but I was never happy dealing with rapes. Uh, to handle a rape crime or a rape with murder was something which uh, it used to rattle me from inside somehow. I mean, not that other crimes didn't. I've seen uh, crimes where like there are half a dozen heads somewhere and half a dozen bodies somewhere. Those are also extremely you sort of they kind of really shake your insides. But there is something called, you have a certain response when you go to a crime scene where you see all of this, but then the follow up, or what is called the post you know crime scene of crime thing, I think doing a rape and murder was not a very good thing to handle. And as far as unreported or underreporting, I think uh, a lot of domestic violence and a lot of violence against family members, and this also includes sexual violence amongst family members, goes unreported. And we are not even willing to talk about it. Within families, we are not willing to talk about it. So I think that is something which all of you who are here, educated, must must sort of take the effort of ensuring that if something comes to your notice that these kind of things are happening, you must have the courage of conviction to make the intervention. Either you get it stopped, or if you think you're not able to stop it, then you must report the matter to the police. And right now, I can tell you for sure that on these issues, police has no choice but to be responsive, and they will be responsive. That much I can tell you.
On the question of how do you deal with this on a day-to-day
Yeah,
basis?
I think we become sort of ardent at one point in time. That's not a very good thing for the person, for we as people. But yeah, I mean, listening to crime and seeing crime, one just becomes hardened to it. Yes, I think for me, more than the scene of crime kind of a situation, what really affected me uh, mentally was when I was when I was dealing with crime against women, because the kind of narratives and the kind of stories one had to hear, not see. Just hearing those stories used to traumatize me. It really used to traumatize me. And there came a time, when I joined that work, I thought, it's something which I will be able to contribute very well. And I did my best. That's the time when, we set up this CRCC, and there was a barrage of women who used to come to office, so much so that the DG's office said that, we can't have women sitting inside our office at 8 o'clock in the night when everybody is gone. And so this is not on. But mm, just listening to those, trauma stories used to be very, very traumatizing. And within a year, I thought, I need to pack up, because otherwise, I will probably become a man hater or something like that. So yeah, that was not nice.
Okay, we'll just take the last two questions here and two questions there after the answers, because we have only 15 minutes. This question.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Ma'am, how is politically involved, like influenced your while you're dealing the cases?
Sorry, say that again.
Like how the political governments are influenced while you're dealing the cases of
Political
crime?
influence, is there a political pressure that you need to face? How do you stand up to it? You wanted to ask a question yourself. As a
Yeah.
volunteer, let me give her a chance.
All right. Hi, I'm Riddhi. So my question is that there are days where your motivation falls down, let it be while studying or while working. So do you have any tips for us, which can help us get back to the track, or some activities which you yourself practiced, which we could take back?
Okay, so my first answer to the first question. Yes, there is something called political pressure. There is something called peer pressure. There is something called, sometimes there'll be people who are known to you, who will want to, influence you in certain cases. Unfortunately or fortunate, I have not succumbed to any of these pressures. I have not
Succumbed. So you've faced, but you've not succumbed.
It is there. See, you cannot wish away, just like you cannot wish away the cops, you cannot wish away the politicians, you cannot wish away your known people, you cannot wish away, pressures from your friends. So at the end of the day, we are all people, you know. So, but it is for you to decide, and when I say it is for the individual person to decide whether he or she wants to, accedes to those unreasonable or unprofessional requests or don't. And as I said, fortunately or unfortunately, I have.
Any tip for her? She wanted to ask Riddhi.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Right. So my question was.
Yeah. How do you deal with when you're demotivated, right? So yeah, I mean, there was a time when I thought, I think I've had enough of this, career, and I need to move on. And that's the time when I took a break and I went and studied at IIM Bangalore. I took 2 years off, and I said, okay, I'll sleep over this decision of mine. And I was fortunate to get into IIM Bangalore. I had to push myself a bit.
You did an MBA with a focus on public policy.
Yeah. So it was in the years 2008 to 10, and I took a break. And I think that was the best thing of my life. The way I view my job, the way I view my, professional decisions, I think I have so much to sort of thank IIM Bangalore for.
So sometimes you
Seriously.
just got to change tracks.
Yeah, and I came back, and I really think I came back with a vengeance, with a bang. I mean, I left. I took a 2-year break, thinking, okay, once I get my, I have a IM business school degree under my belt, maybe I can, try the corporate, and why not? And I was all set that yes, and by the way, I was also given a placement too. But then, me being me, I said, no, I'll go back, and I'll go back with a vengeance. And here I am.
We are so glad that you decided to come back. We need more of you, definitely. I'm just going to take the last two questions. The gentleman here first, and then the student. I'm afraid we have completely run out of time today.
Good afternoon, madam. Myself, Dr. Venkata Nagendra, faculty from chemistry. Happy to see you here in our campus. One question, in general, being a police officer and once you return from the office, you are a family member to your family, and you can deal with the outside, with the notorious people. One student asked the same, how you can manage. But my question is, today, you have seen such a number of notorious cases you have dealt successfully in 3 decades. Present generation students, their attitude, sometimes being a teacher, we are unable to estimate that why this fellow is like this. For a small thing, they are unable to control the stress and they will outcome. So they don't have the ability to take the simple things into order. So what is your suggestion to the present generation students to overcome and how to balance their mental stability? If not the case, these people will become the future notorious persons. That is my feel, at least 2 to 3%. And what is your suggestions to the youth? Before pandemic, after pandemic, there is a lot more change.
Okay, sir. Can I just take in this question quickly? Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. First of all, you both are like inspiration from me from today in both the fields. And secondly, my question for you, ma'am, is being such a confident woman, you must be having many judgmental eyes around you in both negative and positive aspects. So, you ever had a like mental pressure of questioning your confidence and moral?
You had a question there, Sushma? Good one. Yeah, just the last question.
Ma'am, what is your opinion about Pranay and Amruta's Madrish? Pranay and Amruta.
What?
And Amruta. Intercaste marriage.
Okay. The intercaste marriage case which has happened. This is the one where the asset was sold.
I'm not aware.
1 year back, ma'am.
Can you just give us
1 year back.
1 year back? Okay. I'll just come. You can answer the first question.
Do you have some way of connecting WhatsApp video to the screen? If you can do it, I'll actually answer that question very well.
WhatsApp video to screen, is it possible?
First of all,
guys, quiet,
can
please.
I have your ears, please? All the children up there and here, were you able to follow the question the faculty member just asked here? Have you heard the question? I'm not very sure whether you heard the question. So I think his question is, I'm putting it in a nutshell, and please sort of add if I have missed out on anything. His question is that these days, we as teachers, we find it very difficult to gauge or sort of size up our students, and sometimes it's extremely shocking, or rather they are stumped, he is stumped, that the way students react, they are not able to control their emotions. Am I right? So this is his question. So do you think it's a valid question? You think that people are just not able to manage their emotions, or they are not able to vent their emotions in a poised fashion. Is that what you think about all of yourselves? Yes or no?
I think they're so feeble. It should be
Yeah,
it's a silent no.
no. I think it's a silence yes, because they know that what he's saying is right, but they also feel apologetic about it. Am I right? Yes. That's again a very submissive yes. So yes, I think that is such a brilliant question. I was just watching a video the other day. There's a gentleman who's he's a coach and a mentor. I don't know whether I can connect that thing to.
Can you show a WhatsApp video on screen? Or you'll have to download it. Just forward it to me. I'll see if I can lead to them. It may or may not work, ma'am. I'm not sure, yeah.
Okay, fine. So I was just watching the video of a a coach. He's a public speaker himself, motivational speaker as they call it. You know what? I think we are living in a VUCA world. You all heard this world? We are living in a VUCA world. Now, in fact, we are living in a VUCA wit. Do you know what VUCA wit is?
Anybody here has heard of the term VUCA? It's used a lot by motivational coaches. No one's heard.
So VUCA world is passe. It's been there but there's something called the VUCA wit. So VUCAWIT. So VUCA is we live in a volatile world. We live in an uncertain world. We live in a complex world. And we live in a ambiguous world. And W stands for world driven by information technology, IT. So I think a lot of what we are today as humans is being driven by IT. And I think that is a matter of a lot of introspection and a lot of debate. I think we are becoming less of humans and more of humanoids. And a lot of our emotions and a lot of our behavioral responses are now driven by IT. And I think that is something which is of a very, very grave and a serious debate. And I think you as faculty and you as pupil and we as public servants, we all need to be cognizant of the fact that how much IT is driving us today. There are a lot of upsides to it. There's a lot of goods and a pros to IT. But there are some very unsaid and unwritten down and downside to this, which we should be at least aware of. If we don't want to internalize it, that's a choice we make. But we must be aware of the downsides of cyberspace, of this constant connect between the machine and me, and less connect between me and her and me and you as humans. And I think this is all having such a lifetime turnaround impact on our behavior as humans. And I think that is the thing we all need to recognize. That is why we are becoming less responsive. I wouldn't like to use a hard word like tolerant, but we are becoming less responsive to the other human. We are less responsive to our parents. We are less responsive to our peer. We are less responsive to a collective social gathering. because we are so much connected to the machine. And I think that is where the answer lies. But yes, we cannot wish away, just like we cannot wish away humans. In today's world, we cannot wish away technology. When I joined service, which is not many years ago, there was no cell phones. We still did crime detection. Today, if you tell a cop that he has to function without a cell phone, he will say, how do I function without a cell phone? How do I report crime? How do I interrogate? How do I pass information? But we did all of that, by the way, and we did it better. So I'm actually, more than answering, I'm also leaving you with this question. It's a very sort of profound one at that. That, you know, machines or anything which has been made as a gadget is to make ourselves better as humans. You know, professionals or being able to do our work efficiently is just part of it. But at the end of the day, we have to become better humans and we have to become a more humane society. But is it happening?
Ma'am, I think you've left enough food for thought for all of us. Just that last answer, I think that young girl wanted to ask about being judged constantly. Is that something that wears you down? The boy there asked about the Amruta Pranay case, in which case there was the young girl married to somebody was a Dalit Christian, honor killing, and ended up with the woman being constantly vilified and demonized. I don't know if that's a case you would like to particularly, comment on.
Can I just first answer the first question? Yes, if you're a public figure, you will be constantly sized up, you will be constantly judged, but so be it. That's okay. In fact, the more I personally feel that the more diverse opinions people have with you is directly proportionate to the more impactful person you are. So you may be a public figure, but if you are, well, I'm trying to put it in a very a commonsensical way. If the more controversial you are, the more, you know, you definitely have more eyeballs to you. But that does, I mean, that is why people like to rake up controversies. There are a lot of people who like to rake up controversies because that's how they get more, likes or dislikes or eyeballs looking at them. But having said that, yes, if you are in the public domain and you are doing a job which has a certain sort of, individual stamp and signature to it, you will be judged. You will be perceived. And the more impactful you are, the more diverse opinions there will be to you. But that's okay.
I think at the end of the day, if you're not doing anything, if you're playing safe, then obviously you will not face resistance, you will not face controversies. If you're constantly being judged, being sized up, it means perhaps, hopefully, you're doing something right, which is why there are so many people looking up to you and questioning you also, not being accepting of the
Whether
changes.
it's right or not, you're definitely doing things differently. You know, you're definitely doing things which is breaking the mold. So definitely there will be opinions on it. There will be questions on it. So that's okay.
And I think that's something that you have done in the past 3
You have
decades
to
and
take-
more,
you have to make a choice.
breaking barriers, breaking the glass ceilings, as well as breaking the mold when it comes to opinion and doing things differently. It's been a pleasure talking to you, ma'am. Thank you so much, Ms. Anjana Sinha. Loud round of applause, guys. Can I please have Dr. Karunakar, the director for Geetam Business School, to present a token of appreciation to ma'am?
And thank you all for giving me your ears and to be able to ask me so many interesting questions.
Next
This
time,
was very nice.
you'll have to
Thank
come
you.
in uniform so that the ones up there are quieter and ask you more questions.
Sorry, this is also good. Please go like this.